know, this is not just a bunch of people dealing with emotional feelings about George Bush. These are people who care about the preservation of constitutional democracy. That's what's at stake here. And because we're not just a bundle of emotions, we have a lot of factual data to back up our position. We have put together a very detailed summary of the issue, as I mentioned before, and the Maine Lawyers for Democracy are the people who did that. This is 65 lawyers who have met and acted in response to the impeachment issue and have voted to support our action. And as a result, we have their skills and capabilities at our disposal to analyze the issue. And one of the people I want to talk right now is John Kaminsky, who is the person who really spearheaded the entire action by the Maine Lawyers for Democracy. Thank you, Gary, and thank you all for coming out on this beautiful day. I'm delighted to see that the winds of change are blowing through Augusta. We at Maine Lawyers for Democracy believe that impeachment is ultimately about accountability. Lynn has done a great job of describing the reasons for our call for impeachment. And I would like to talk today about another issue of very serious concern, and also talk about why we are here today calling for action by the Maine legislature. As we've talked about impeachment in meetings of Maine Lawyers for Democracy, and as many of us have gathered petition signatures around the state, we keep hearing one consistent point, and that is we cannot allow this administration to get away with it. And if we were to allow this administration to get away with it, we would create a bad precedent. We would create the precedent, if we permit these abuses to go unchallenged, that any administration in the future, be it Republican, Democrat, Green, Independent, or what have you, might also be able to abuse the Constitution the same way. We cannot allow that precedent. We've heard genuine concerns about precedent from a member of Congress, from state legislators, from the former mayor of Portland, from a town councilor, from lawyers, from physicians, from teachers, from students, from artists, and from some of the many shipbuilders at Bath Iron Works who have signed the petition. All are concerned about precedent. If there is no accountability for their actions, future administrations will feel justified in taking the same outrageous actions. Just picture it along with me. 5, 10, 20 years down the road, some other American president is sitting in the cabinet room thinking about starting a preemptive war. And someone pipes up, there's precedent for preemptive war. The Bush administration did it, and no one challenged them. I don't want that precedent, and neither do you. We must hold them accountable to prevent future harm. As Lynn mentioned, this morning's Press Herald has a lead editorial saying that Bush should not be impeached. The editorial tells us that impeaching itself will set a bad precedent. That impeachment should not be allowed to become a de facto recall petition. That somehow having the impeachment of 2 presidents in a row is bad for the country and bad for the Constitution. Like you, I take issue with that. The trivialization of the impeachment process to impeach Bill Clinton should not immunize the Bush-Cheney administration for impeachment for its serious high crimes and misdemeanors. The fact that Clinton was impeached is not a get-out-of-jail-free card for Bush and Cheney. And the Portland Press Herald goes further. Their editorial asks whether it is possible for a president to commit a high crime or misdemeanor and be eligible for impeachment without breaking a particular law. It goes on to state, and get this, it goes on to state, Bush's alleged wrongdoings appear to conform to the technical requirements of the law. Here at Maine Lawyers for Democracy, we strongly disagree. Lynn has listed a few of the laws that were broken. Let me just go over those again. An unprovoked, preemptive attack on a sovereign nation is a violation of the UN Charter. And that's a treaty to which the United States ascribes. It's the law of the land, and it was broken. They had a domestic wiretapping program. And that domestic wiretapping program was so clearly a violation of the law that even Bush's own Attorney General, John Ashcroft, refused to certify it as legal. And finally, the program of illegal detention without appropriate hearings, without appropriate safeguards, was determined by the Supreme Court. It is very clear that significant laws were broken. We must hold the administration accountable. Now, we sometimes hear that this administration has only a year and a half left. Yes, impeachment may be inconvenient. It may distract us from the next presidential election. It may distract us from other important issues. There may be a backlash against those who pursue impeachment like us. And it may create sympathy for President Bush. But we have a duty. We must do the right thing, the moral thing, the just thing, and not rationalize away our duty. We must either impeach or condone the way they do business and run the risk that what we now see as outrageous becomes commonplace in the future. And so I ask you, given the choice of impeach or condone, what must we do? Given the choice of impeaching to defend the Constitution or tolerating these abuses, what must Representatives Allen and Michoud do? Given the choice of impeaching or excusing Bush and Cheney, what must the entire U.S. House of Representatives do? So let's talk about why we're here today at the state capitol in Augusta. We're here because this is the traditional, the historic gathering place where Maine comes to address important issues, and I can't think of one that's more important than this. But even more, we're here today to ask our state legislators to join us in the call for impeachment. As Gary has pointed out, impeachment is not just a federal issue. In fact, there is an important role for state legislators. Our position paper lists that all in very technical detail. And I'm not going to read you all the technical details here this afternoon, believe me. It's in our position paper. We've already shared that with the legislature. But in brief, the Federal House of Representatives is the body that considers impeachment. The House's manual provides that charges of impeachment may be brought by a state legislature. The manual sets out ways of setting impeachment in motion, and one of those is charges transmitted by the legislature of a state. That's why we're here today. So far, the Federal House of Representatives has largely chosen to condone, to tolerate, to excuse the Bush-Cheney administration from accountability, and chosen not to impeach. Our state legislature can do better. Our state legislature can do better than Congress has done so far in Washington. Our state legislature can fulfill its role in the federal system by transmitting charges of impeachment to Washington. Let's remember, Dorigo is not just a health plan. It's the Maine state motto. It means I lead. Leading is about being brave and courageous, about taking extraordinary action in extraordinary times. The Bush-Cheney abuses have brought us into extraordinary times. It is time for our state legislature to take the lead and to join the voices of the over 11,000 Mainers whose names appear in the petition we deliver today. Impeachment is ultimately about accountability. We must hold them accountable. And to hold them accountable, what must we do? Thank you.